Hello, I'm voicing for the academic discourse Rachel Harris, and I'm starting at minute 3. I'm starting at 3 minutes and 32 seconds, and we'll go for about 10 minutes of discussion. Currently, she has a comic up on the screen, and it's going to start her presentation of ASL English semantics. Thanks for watching. What they say in the comic is true. When you're reading a title, you may understand some of the words. A study of some word with some word. You know, you understand the word A. I know everyone kind of understands the word A. Maybe you understand the word case. Maybe you think it's a box. Maybe some sort of container. A study, maybe you understand the word study. You know, maybe a person who's reading this will understand that. Of, you know, most people can understand of, but then you got these other words that you don't know. So you go to a dictionary and you look at the dictionary and you're reading the definition, but then the confusion is still there. It's not until you read the whole sentence. First you had to divide it into parts, but you really can't see the whole picture of this academic discourse. This has happened to me very frequently. You know, in ASL, we watch people chatting back and forth, and, you know, sometimes, you know, you can't understand what they said. Sometimes you miss it, you know, and I'm really good at reading ASL, but sometimes I'm not understanding when I'm watching two people discussing something. Maybe they're off topic, or maybe they're talking about football, and I'm completely incompetent in football. Or, you know, there's that quarterback over there, and you know, or this running back, and all these vocabularies that I have no idea what this is talking about. That's exactly what happens in ASL. It's not just in English. ASL and English have the same problem, that you may not understand the vocabulary. You feel like the specific vocabulary you may have a difficult time understanding. Is there exactly a paper that says about academic discourse? Not really. You know, when you're sitting there talking with a friend, and you go, oh, hey, how are you doing? We're doing great. And then, you know, last night I was reading this psychological magazine, and it was talking about how people, you know, you start talking with your friend about the psychological magazine, and then you go to this other class, and people, your change activities, you know, they're using the same words and the same signs, but could they have different meanings? No, they should be the same. But really, academic discourse is not the same. The signs are the same, but how we adjust our signing when we're doing a casual conversation and academic discourse is different. So here's some evidence of this. I'm going to show you. About 6 people are at about 6 years old. Everyone's pretty confident in conversation, both in sign and in speech. By 6, after 6 years old, then the variety stops. Some people may be really good in math, and they really are excellent at it. Some people are really good in video games and Wii's. They're really good at that. So people start developing what they're really interested in. So the variety is that you get around people who are inclined to your same interests. And when you're inclined to something, you tend to learn the vocabulary. So everyone in something you're interested in all have the same vocabulary and all use the same words. And there can be a great variety depending on the different interests. So I've got some, this is an evidence of academic discourse. You know, for example, was here in child, 7 or 8 years old, moves to America, in another country moves to America, and they start school. And they go into school, and really they have to learn English, plus they have to learn the academics. So they end up being there 2 years before they're really excellent in conversing in English. Then it takes another 5 years before they are fluent in the academic. Look at the span. They have separate expectations and separate vocabulary. You're good in conversation, but you have to really teach and practice the academic language. So here's evidence of how the academic discourse is different than conversational. I'm not going to go any further into this and provide more evidences or anything. Academic discourse is a huge field. I mean, this topic is so broad. You've got psychology of discourse, math discourse, you've got all these other, just a variety of topics and a variety of discourse, and we really need to, all of that have its own vocabulary, its own ways to speak. Like, like in psychology, you all know J.C. Cummings. He's a famous psychologist, and he did the CJ School of Language Skills, the CALP. But he was really talking about the academic discourse. Another field studies it called text. That means academic text talk. And teachers call it high variant language. A high variant language, that's academic discourse. On low variant, but they're called, the academic discourse is labeled different things in different fields of study, but it mainly is talking about the same thing. So here are the different labels for academic discourse, and a person who's a reporter, and then what's the profession. So you're going to see a bunch of them up on the screen. Yeah, you'll see. You can put the camera on the screen. You saw all the different ways that academic discourse was in the different fields, was labeled in the different fields, but every field has its different perspective on academic discourse. I feel like here at Gallaudet we really need to look at the comparison between ASL and English. The label I feel that matches is this one, by Dr. Paul G. This is my, way I like my label for this. It's how do we look at the different languages. I tend to use his study, and I'll go a little more in depth into that in this discussion. Dr. G's says there's two categories. You have the primary discourse, and that's your first language you learn in your family when you're born, and the first language that you learn, and that's your conversational. That your family, it's not typically not academic discourse. Typically not in your family. It's typically your family language. Okay, now going on from that, then you get all the different vocabulary and the different, the secondary discourse. The other vocabularies that are used in the specialized discourse that is used. It's all the different vocabulary that you're introduced as a child. Sick, dude. Maybe does that mean the person's actually sick and vomiting all over the place? No, it has a different, it means, oh my goodness, really? I can't believe you did that. That's so cool. That's just so sick. It doesn't mean you're actually sick. That you'd have to know that specific terminology means cool. What about the new generation, the younger generation? They have their own signs and their own language, their own discourse that they use. So maybe if you're around them, you can watch them and understand what they're saying. But I can't. I have to practice and watch how they speak and watch how they're speaking. What about surfboarding? Do you guys know what alley-oop means? Or fake fly? Okay, he knows what this means. You know, all of these words have different meanings when you're talking with people who are surfboarding. You know, it means you're doing this twisty. It means that you're doing this twist on the surfboard, but that's a very specific vocabulary to that interest. You know, somebody who's not familiar with this would be completely lost in their conversation if you're talking to people about that, and you must learn to... Oh, okay, I gotta back up my thing. Oh, stop.